So this is Dillahunty cornered into admitting this huge problem. Heated debate. Your worldview refutes itself. Let's see what's going on.
Your worldview refutes itself.
How? Because my worldview is that I presuppose this because I can't account for it.
When you have a chemical state that leads to another chemical state, it doesn't guarantee proper logical inference. Now, let me finish. Therefore, what it means is your conclusions can't be trusted as being correct.
Wrong.
And
they can be trusted but being correct.
How do you know?
Because I am presupposing it. You don't, if you just keep...
Welcome back to the channel.
Hey, guy. What's up?
Everyone, the video that we're about to watch features a debate between Matt Dillahunty and Matt Slick. This specific
Dillahunty versus Slick. Matt versus Matt.
Portion of the debate was sent to me actually via email from someone in the audience. At the end, you'll see it really comes to a head and a very important point is made. This conversation is basically between secular humanism and theism, I guess you could say, Christianity, theism, in terms of what is the best grounding or foundation for the reliability of the mind and the external reality of truth in the universe. It all makes...
Well, that's the thing is, like, if you're a skeptic, you don't believe in the reliability of the mind. Like, if you ever read an issue of Skeptic magazine, which I've read a few, I don't have a subscription or anything, but I've read a few issues of that. I used to get it at the bookstore and stuff, and one of the things they constantly go to is all of the biases of the human mind, all of the ways that human reasoning can be deceived. James Randi used to do all kinds of stuff about this. You know, he'd come up on stage wearing a pair of glasses and he'd talk about, you know, how you just assume, you just trust that those glasses have lenses in them, but he reveals they don't. You know, he would do all these little things to show you that all of the assumptions that your mind makes. And this is precisely because, you know, the human mind is fallible. We don't perceive reality as it is. We have all sorts of built-in cognitive biases, and society instills yet more cognitive biases in us. The point of skepticism is don't trust the human mind. The point of skepticism is critical thinking, which is not just, I thought about it real hard. Critical thinking is a system of reasoning through empiricism, right? And the human mind is obviously still a component in that, so it's still a flawed methodology. But what sense does it make for a theist to go, the human mind is flawed, therefore something without any evidence whatsoever must be the truth, because God, well, God is just entirely a fabrication of the human mind. So how could that possibly be more reliable than empiricism, than scientific evidence, than reasoned critical thinking? Hey, if you like this clip, you might like the full stream, which I do every Sunday, more or less, over on the Pessimist Productions Patreon, link down below. Thank you kindly.
Your worldview does not include God as part of the equation. Then since there's only two things to work with that we can even talk about, the natural world, which you said we know, and there's nothing that we can use as a method to determine the supernatural, we're left with the natural. So your worldview necessitates the working of the natural.
Yes.
Therefore, I'm working within that. The worldview of the natural has the physics, laws of chemistry, etc. Our brain works on physics, laws of chemistry, etc. How does a physical brain therefore produce proper logical inference if one chemical state leaves another chemical state, and that's what our brains are?
It doesn't. It doesn't at all. That's the whole reason that we had to develop science. That's the whole reason that critical thinking was developed, is because we realized, hey, we do draw erroneous conclusions when we just think about things real hard. That's how we arrived at the God hypothesis in the first place. Oh, there must be some personification out there that controls things. You know, it started off as, oh, it's raining. Maybe there's some sort of entity or force or being that's making it rain to reward us because now our crops are being watered. Uh-oh, there's too much rain and we flooded. We must have angered the entity. How can we appease it? Maybe it wants us to kill a few virgins for it, you know? These are the sort of conclusions the human mind devoid of critical thinking, devoid of higher reasoning skills, devoid of empiricism. These are the sorts of conclusions it comes to then. So the chemicals in your brain, like, they're great at certain things. You know, if you go back to the hunter-gatherer days, I'm sure they're very good at hunting, very good at gathering, not so good at unraveling the truths of the universe, at least not without a lot of very careful, hard-won help from science, which is a process that does everything in its power to take human fallibility out of the equation.
So, like I said, there's no guarantee that any particular brain is going to actually reason correctly. And what I will say is that logic is not something that is, or the foundations of thought aren't something that are produced by a brain. They are truths that we recognize. They are the truths that demonstrated by a simple Venn diagram that something is either A or not A.
I don't really, I think my answer was better than his personally, but of course I do. I'm an egomaniac.
That's it.
You're not answering the question.
Okay, the question is, how can a brain produce logic?
How does a brain restricted to physical laws of chemistry and physics? I'm just going to use motion, matter, chemistry, physics. How does that produce proper logical inference? As you said, which I think is very interesting. It
doesn't. That's why we've done everything in our power to remove it from the equation. I mean, not remove it from the equation completely, but remove its biases from the equation. Anyone can come up with a harebrained theory about something. I mean, we see people do it all the time. I mean, you're sitting here arguing that there's a magical being that controls reality. I mean, that's an example.
It's not dependent upon the human brain. I totally agree with you. Well, then that means your brain, my brain are different brains. We can't use your brain or my brain to be the standards of logical inference.
No one disagrees with that.
We can't. We both agree. We both make mistakes. We're both not perfect in our logical thinking.
What do we point to?
We apply to something else these laws of logic. Now, the issue is
Correct.
the physical brain. Yeah, and they're outside of ourselves.
Correct.
The physical. Oh, there you go.
It's
yes.
that they don't exist
yes,
as things.
Yes.
They are not.
Towards my
they
side,
are not
theism.
contingent.
No one's moving towards your side of theism just because. Wait, is that your criteria for theistic thought? If anybody relies on something outside of themselves to make an inference, it must be God. I mean, that's more telling than anything to me. I mean, this isn't even God of the gaps at this point. This is just like anything useful to me must be God. It's even more insane.
Upon any individual's thought, they don't exist as a thing.
So my question is, how does the physical brain, where one chemical state relates to another chemical state or changes to one, how does it produce proper logical inference? Does it?
No.
Can it?
Can it?
Yes. Otherwise, we.
How would you know?
Because
it can't produce it. Your brain. No, Matt Dillahunty's a moron. Your brain, your physical brain, and the chemical processes and electrical impulses therein cannot produce logic, okay? Because if it could produce logic, you would be God or something near it. You would be a sorcerer at least, because you would be able to decide the rules of reality. Our brains are not capable of producing logic. They're capable of recognizing logic. And they don't always. And in fact, for a lot of us, they don't ever.
We can recognize it through the logic that we just talked about. So
wait a minute. If your brain's saying that, and it's all that is of physical chemicals, you can't say that to be true, because you don't know if your brain's saying.
What is this criteria? Why not? Why can't you? I mean, anyone can say anything's true. Anyone could have. I mean, like the wonderful thing about being a human being is you can literally assert whatever the hell you want. Whether that assertion matches reality or not is a completely different matter. But anybody can assert anything, no matter how untrue it is. Just watch a Trump speech.
That is right. You're just saying that.
This is the real issue here, and this is truth. What's the definition of truth according to you?
Well, look.
Definition game again. Uh-oh. He trying to make me define terms. Fucking atheists, their definition games. I mean, when the heart of the matter of the conversation, I mean, I hate semantic bullshit as much as the next person. But when you seem to be using a fast and loose definition of truth, then I think it's probably pertinent that we agree upon what truth means.
The issue
No, if
here,
you're going to make truth and logic the foundation of it, we ought to get this out.
truth is that which
Basically what I just said.
corresponds to actuality and or logic.
Okay, so we agree on what truth is. And so if truth is what corresponds to actuality and logic, then when a brain reasons, you take the output of that and see if it correlates with logic and with the facts of reality and reason.
But the problem is, if you are in a cage of physical chemical reaction,
Despite all my rage, I am still just a rat in a cage. Sorry.
you cannot ascertain whether or not those conclusions properly relate to the truth.
Yeah, that's why we're constantly amending our understanding of the truth. When it comes to reality, all we can do is build models based on empirical observation. New truths come to the fore, as in new observations come to light, that could irrevocably alter what we perceive to be the truth in a scientific sense. So yes, the idea that there is some sort of immutable, forever truth that is within the grasp of humanity, only a fool would assert that. Anybody who's like a rationalist, has a rationalist worldview, the most they're going to claim is that science and empiricism offer up a model of existence, or several models of existence that explain different phenomena and shit, that are as close to our understanding, I mean, like, that represent our best understanding, basically. Right? And these models could be revised all the time. Like, we had a Newtonian model of gravity, and it worked, and we could make predictions based on it. And then we discovered quantum physics, and we realized there must be a quantum theory of gravity. And I might be out of date, but as far as I know, no one has yet to develop a quantum gravity theory. But that we know that one must exist through inference. So there is a more precise model out there. There is something that's closer to the actual truth. But then a new understand, even once we do arrive at that, if we can, a new fact or a new fact about reality could come to the fore, and totally, we have to reconsider again. Now we need an even more sophisticated model to explain gravity.
So the assessment doesn't have to be done solely, which is why science relies on independent affirmation. Now, you can say, and I will agree, at the end of the day, maybe all of us are wrong.
In order to...
How was that an argumentum ad populum? I don't remember him ever saying at any point in that, a lot of people agree with me, A lot of very important dudes out there.
filter 1,000
Oh, hey, you gonna come untie your tongue, weird guy? Cool, let's hear it.
opinions in, you still have to filter it through your one brain. And so...
More like your one brain cell, you dumb twat.